Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World Legacy Collection review. Today we're taking a look at the enormous Apatosaurus. Words can't describe how happy I am to finally have this figure in hand. Apatosaurus is my favorite dinosaur of all time, so naturally I was extremely excited when Mattel announced that the Apatosaurus would be the newest figure in the Legacy Collection. And man, this figure does not disappoint. Don't let the size of the box fool you, this is a very, very big figure. Now, since this is a Legacy Collection figure, this is exclusive to Target in the US. It actually released months and months ago in Europe, and some of us US collectors are getting kind of antsy because Mattel never gave us a release date when this was going to be available in the US. So some people were thinking it was going to not show up or everything. I thought that was complete nonsense. This is a huge release, and Target has done an excellent job of stocking the Legacy Collection figures. Now, this figure retails for just over $50. But, for some reason this week, Target is running a sale. It's 50% off, so you can snag this thing for around $25 if you can find one. I actually checked online and none are in stock, but maybe that'll change throughout the week because I would definitely add another one for $25 to my collection. And if you want to order this figure, I'll leave a link down below to Target's website in the description. So let's just go over the package really quick before we take a look at this figure. Just like the Brachiosaur release, the artwork on the box is absolutely fantastic. You have a nice picture of the Apatosaurus. And one thing I did notice, the artwork on the box, it has the accurate front limbs, unlike the toy itself. I just thought that was kind of interesting. In the background over here, you can see Zach and, oh my god, I forgot the other kid's name, in the gyrosphere. Maybe that's a tease that we'll see these figures sometime in the future, to round out the Jurassic World cast. You got the Stegosaurus over here. You got a couple more Apatosaurs in the background. And then front and center on the side of the box is the Jurassic World Legacy Collection logo. They have a silhouette of the Apatosaurus. Now, when the Brachiosaurus released, they actually used the outline of the Apatosaurus for the length of the Brachiosaurus toy. And a lot of people joking around that the Apatosaurus was confirmed, and I guess that turned out to be true. And spinning the box to the side, you get some more of the Legacy Collection and a picture of the articulation, how it works on the Apatosaurus. This box is big, so yeah, you're going to see the size of the studio during this review. And then turn the box to the other side. You get the same artwork, but just facing upright, and the kids are in a different position than on the other side, but it's the same picture of the Apatosaurus. And then down here in the corner, we have that Raptor Squad Legacy Collection release, which is just swarming the shelves at my Target. Another picture of the kid being completely overjoyed, stroking that Apatosaurus neck, and we got the silhouette of the length. And just one more thing, let's just look at the other side of the box. Legacy Collection logo, and then on the bottom of the box are the instructions on how to assemble this Apatosaurus. So enough about the packaging, let's crack this big figure open and take a closer look. But before we can move on, there is some quick assembly we have to perform on this Apatosaurus. So turn it around for the tail. You can see there's a notch in there. And here is the tail. You just want to make sure everything lines up. And it is a one-time assembly. You're just going to push it in. You're going to hear it click. And that's it. It is not coming out. So please keep that in mind. And for the head, same thing. We have the notch. Now this figure is so long it won't fit into my studio. We just have to grab the Apatosaurus neck and just slide that right in there till you hear it click, and that's it. The Apatosaurus is all done. And here's the Apatosaurus fully assembled. Normally this is the part of my review I would have this up on the turntable. That's not going to happen with this thing. This thing is way too big to fit on my review studio, and if I had it on the turntable, I don't know how I would have gotten this thing into shot. It would just be knocking everything down to the side of the studio with that long tail. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, it's just extending past my little display shelf that I keep next to the studio. So yeah, if there was one word I can use to describe this thing, it's impressive. It's such a big figure. I know I've been kind of hard on Mattel lately, with some of their paint apps and design choices with Dino Escape, but this is where Mattel really shines through. No one does big dinosaur figures like this. And Mattel has given us two of them. The Brachiosaurus was fantastic. And this Apatosaurus, I think, is just a slightly bit better than the Brachiosaurus, just for the amount of detail. On the Brachiosaurus, the details are kind of not that well defined. It's just, just kind of wrinkly brown plastic. But they put a lot of effort into this figure, and it shows. The head is beautifully detailed, a lot of nice fine scale detail, and then when you start getting down to the neck, it's not as detailed as the head. It's kind of like an abrupt stop, but it is still much more detailed than they did on the Brachiosaurus. The legs look great. Obviously, the front feet, those toe claws, other than the thumbs, should not be showing. But this is a Mattel Jurassic World dinosaur. It doesn't really matter with accuracy. The only complaint I can say about the toes, I wish they just painted them with black paint. There's not a lot of paint apps on this thing, but for how Mattel apply them, it looks really, really good. You do have that light gray color mixed in with the dark gray. You have some nice underbelly painting. And, another thing that they did is, let me just pull this thing across. They actually did paint most of the tail, which is pretty rare for Mattel figures. And, the other thing is, the tail could be a lot longer, but you have to remember, Mattel has to work with, shelf space restraints, and, this thing has to fit in the box. Probably the way around it could have been if the tail came in two separate pieces to give us a really long whiplash tail. The tail itself is just a little bit shorter to the body. We all know Apatosaurus had a very long whip-like tail, and that's probably my only complaint about the Sculpt. I just wish the tail was just a little bit longer, but other than that, it's just a fun-looking Apatosaurus toy. All right, let's just do a couple quick measurements on this giant figure. You guys are not going to see the end of the ruler, but this figure is 43 inches long from the tip of the head to the tip of the tail, and just about 12 inches tall to the top of the head. So Apatosaurus in the Jurassic World film canon is around 90 feet long. So with those measurements, that puts this figure somewhere in that 125 scale range. All right, let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with that beautifully sculpted head. This is probably one of the most detailed and lifelike heads I've seen Mattel do in the line so far. Just a lot of great scale detail, even lots of nice wrinkles and scales around the eye. The eye is painted black, but it's a glossy black paint, so you can see the light reflecting off it. It does give it a lifelike look. You can see the nostrils sculpted in here, and you have a nice dry brushing of that light gray paint to contrast against that dark gray. And then around the mouth, you do have some larger scales around the lip. And we're going to go over the articulation as I move down the body on this thing instead of me doing the articulation a little bit later on. Just be easier for me because it's such a big figure to juggle around. So the mouth can open that far, and inside you can see you have some nice detail. The teeth are nicely painted. The tongue is painted in pink, and it's just really cool. I do feel like the bottom jaw is a little bit thin, and from certain angles this figure does look a little derpy, but it is nice to have a sauropod with some nice mouth articulation. It works pretty well, closes nice and flush. And then going down to the base of the neck, you do have articulation. It can move down and it can move up that far, and you can get a little bit of side to side movement on there. It is on a ball joint, and it's really, really tight on mine, and that's a good thing. And then going down to the neck, just trying not to knock over the figures with that really long tail. You got some more of the nice light gray paint apps going all the way down the neck. You have some nice folds and wrinkles. You got some scale definition here and there. Like I said, it's a little bit better than the Brachiosaurus. And then turning the neck over, you have a nice coat of paint underneath the lower jaw and neck, going all the way down to the belly region. It actually stops just before the hind legs, and man, this thing is just so hard to maneuver. And then zooming out a little bit, we do have another articulation joint at the base of the neck. The neck can swing side to side. Let's pull the camera out so we can see that. You guys can see the other half of the studio, and I like how the neck swings side to side. I just wish it also had up and down movement. I guess, putting the neck on a ball joint would have really helped that, but I do like how it can go from side to side. Let's do it a little bit better. I hope I'm in focus because I stepped away from the camera for a moment. So yeah, it's another really tight joint. You can get some nice side to side movement with that. And now down to the main body, you can see more of those light gray paint apps all over the body. Like I said, it's very well done. They're placed nicely. It's not just random color splashes like the Allosaurus I just reviewed. It just looks like someone just grabbed a paintbrush and just shook it near the figure and just called it a day. These are nicely well thought out paint apps, and that's what some of the other Mattel figures need. Just someone thinking when they're calling these figures. And like I said, there's not a lot of paint apps on this figure, but for what they did, it looks really good. Front legs are nice and muscular. You have some nice, very large scale detail on there. You have some nice folds and wrinkles. When you get closer down to the hand, and let's lift the figure up as it smashes into all the studio lights, and let's take a closer look at the front feet. Like I said, this is not accurate. It's kind of weird on the packaging that the Apatosaurus is illustrated, with these claws covered by skin like they should be. This should be the only claw that should be exposed. But hey, like I said, it's a Jurassic World figure. We're not buying them for accuracy at all. And then for the front legs, it can move forward that far. Let me just zoom out a little bit. This is definitely one of the harder figures I've had the review because of its size. It can move forward that far before it hits the skin molded onto the body right here, and it can move backwards just a little bit. So yeah, you're not getting too much movement out of that front leg. And now moving down to the hind leg, same thing, nice muscle definition, really, really large scale, sculpted in all over the leg. You have some nice folds and wrinkles around the knee section, some more paint apps along the back leg. And let's lift it up and take a look at the hind feet. Hind feet came out really nice. Like I said, the only thing I wish they did was just give some glossy black paint for the toe claws, which I can easily fix. And since we have the figure lifted up, let me get the fax app out for those of you that would like to scan it into the fax app. Let's get the light on it a little bit better so you guys can see that. And let's also take a moment to appreciate all the details on the bottom of the feet. And as I'm just knocking over Transformer figures left and right, sorry about that, Galvatron. And then you can see all those nice paint apps on the underside of the belly, stops right before the hind legs. And then flipping this monster back over. Let's do the articulation for the back legs. Back leg can move back that far that it actually clicks into place, and they can move forward just a little bit. Same thing, there's a couple locking joints in there. You can hear it as I move it back to its neutral position. And then over here you can hear it again. So yeah, pretty sturdy figure. You don't have to worry about those legs giving out anytime soon. And let's just look at the top of the figure really, really quick. Let me adjust my studio lights. You can see all those nice striping with those paint apps all down the neck and all down the body to about the halfway point of the tail. And now let's move on to the tail region. Same thing with the tail. You have those same light gray paint apps going all the way down. And like I said, the tip of the tail, the tail is very short. I wish it was just a little bit longer, but you know what? For this figure, it works. I mean, I get what they had to do. They couldn't make it that long to fit in the box, but like I said, they could have maybe made this piece separate and longer just to give us a whiplash thing. Could have even been a safety issue. I don't know. I'm just like spitballing here. So since we're looking at the tail, you do get articulation at this joint right here. You can just rotate it 360 degrees. And there's another side-to-side joint on the tail. You can go this way, right and left nicely as I smash into more studio lights. Same thing, wish there was a joint here for the tail to go up and down just like the neck, but for such a large figure, the articulation is serviceable, and you can definitely have some fun and take some really, really cool looking photos with this figure. All right, moving on with comparisons. First up, here it is, one of the human figures. Here it is with Claire, and you can see this figure absolutely dwarfs the humans in this line. And I just love how big this thing is. Mattel did such a good job with this. Now, I've heard some people saying online that they would like to mod their Apatosaurus into the Mamenchisaurus from the Lost World. And one of the questions they've been asking is, can the mercenary fit underneath the Apatosaurus on a motorcycle? And the answer is yes, and it can also fit between the legs. And next up, here it is with a Velociraptor. And next, here it is with the new Roar Attack Allosaurus. And next up, here it is with the new Mega Destroyer Stegosaurus. And I think those two look absolutely fantastic next to each other. And here it is with the Triceratops, because when the kids went through the Gyrosphere Valley, the Apatosaurus was with Stegosaurus and Triceratops. And as every time I bring out a Mattel Triceratops, they are just way, way too small. But hey, look, we're actually getting a big Ceratopsian figure from Mattel pretty soon. That new Mega Destroyer Pentaceratops. Maybe somewhere down the line they'll just make a larger Triceratops head and just slap it on that body so we can finally get a proper sized Triceratops. And next up, here it is with Rexy. You can see it absolutely dwarfs her. And next, here it is with the Indominus Rex, and we all know in Jurassic World the Indominus Rex slaughtered a whole herd of Apatosaurus, and when Owen and Claire stumble upon the carnage the Indominus called, they found a dying Apatosaurus, and that was one of the only scenes in Jurassic World that used an animatronic, and it looked absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorite scenes from Jurassic World, and that's why I'm really happy to have this Apatosaurus so I can recreate that scene with the figures. And next up, it's not a Mattel figure, but here is the Nanmu Apatosaurus, which is, obviously it's a more high-end figure. It's much more proportionate to how the Apatosaurus appeared in Jurassic World, and, for all in all, it's a really, really good Apatosaurus figure. But you can definitely see how long the tail is on this figure. And, I kind of wish that was like the same for this Mattel one. But, that's just a minor complaint. Just wanted to take these two out and show the difference between them. And lastly, here's the Apatosaurus with the Legacy Collection Brachiosaurus. You can see the Brachiosaurus absolutely dwarfs the Apatosaurus, but if you actually put the Brachiosaurus neck down, both figures are roughly the same length, and you can see how big these figures are, how hard of a review it was for me to do. I'm actually like sweating doing this thing. It's just been a lot of juggling around because it's such a large figure. But yeah, I'm loving how Mattel is doing these really, really large figures. Anything's possible now that they've committed to two of them. Maybe when they actually finish up Jurassic Park and they move on to doing a Legacy Collection Lost World, maybe they'll give us like a Mamenchisaurus. But yeah, the possibilities are endless now that Mattel is committed to doing figures in this size. So, final thoughts on this Apatosaurus. If you can't tell by now, I am in love with this figure. Apatosaurus is my favorite dinosaur of all time, and I'm so happy I finally have a large figure of it. Back when I was growing up, the only like dinosaur toys that were roughly kind of this size was the old Play School Definitely Dinosaurs, and their Blue Brontosaurus was one of my favorite toys growing up. And we have gotten some other large figures, like the Tycho Brontosaurus. That's another big boy. But yeah, it's nice to finally be getting large dinosaur figures again. It is making me quite happy. And if you can figure out the reference of this right here, congratulations, me and you can now be friends. I normally don't herd build with my Jurassic World figures. There's a couple species I'll buy multiples of if I like them. But I'm definitely going to try to get my hands on another Apatosaurus. Probably 3. I have no clue where I'm going to put them. So I do hope I find one this week with that 50% sale going on. If you're out hunting for one of these, I wish you luck. I hope you get it for 50% off because that is an absolute steal for a figure this size. It is definitely worth the $50 for how large the figure is. And like I said at the beginning of the review, I'll leave a link to Target's website down below in the description if you want to order this figure off of online. So that will do it for the review. I do have one more Dino Escape figure to review. I just found the Metria Acanthosaurus today at Target, so be on the lookout for that review a little bit later on this week. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button down below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.